Charleston news.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Was making a sound.
Back up with you. I've never been.
How was that Monday to? Apparently no one else was there because. Funny thing is it came up to the
Fancy topic, okay. So you need a review. Yes. Heady and my former colleague now in my
volunteers for the Smithsonian to do their research. Are you not? So. You can't.
I thought it was challenging.
I hated it.
Well, some I thought it's good, that's why I just leave that.
Even.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry.
Brett, and should I be sitting?
Yeah,
or-
sorry.
Should we sit or,
Yeah, that'd be great.
okay, great. Oh, Teddy has the mic up.
Wow, it's fine, more temperature.
Teddy owns one chair and.
I'll make the trip myself.
Okay.
Wow.
Hello, can everyone hear me? All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to today's Science Institute Fellow Seminar. My name is Adobe Nwatu. I'm an undergraduate student studying data sciences for political science through the School of Public Affairs and journalism through the School of Communications. As a politically engaged journalist, it is an honor to be up here as a science associate to begin this conversation. The Science Institute serves as a dynamic hub for collaboration, bringing together the brightest minds from public, private, academic, nonprofit, and journalism sectors. This organization aims to foster dialogue, drive policy innovation, and champion nonpartisan solutions. At its core, the Institute is where American University comes together to convene, communicate, and collaborate, paving the way for meaningful change. Today, we are honored to have Science Fellow Tara Palmeri and featured guest Theodore Teddy Schleifer join us for the conversation on how Silicon Valley helped current President Donald Trump win the election. Tara Palmeri is a renowned political correspondent and senior writer for Puck. Known for her fearless reporting, Tara has built her career uncovering the behind-the-scenes stories that shape Washington, D.C. and the political landscape. She has worked as a White House correspondent for ABC News and has reported on major global events, including Brexit and the Greek financial crisis. During her tenure at Political Europe, she is also the host of the podcast, Somebody's Gotta Win, where she delves into the high-stakes world of political campaigns, offering deep analysis and insider perspectives on elections and power struggles shaping the country. Her guest, Teddy Schleifer, is a reporter who has previously worked for Recode, the tech publication of Vox, CNN Politics, and currently the New York Times. He is an alumnus of Princeton University, earning a Bachelor's of Arts in Politics and American Studies. Fun fact, Mr. Schleifer was one of the founding partners for Puck. I believe it was one of the 10 employees, according to your LinkedIn. His experience covering Silicon, thank you for laughing. His experience covering Silicon Valley, national politics, and presidential campaigns precedes him. The Science Institute welcomes him to share his insights with us tonight. Join me in welcoming Tara Palmeri and Teddy Schleifer this evening.
Thank you all. Make sure we got this on. Hello,
Hello, there you go.
is it good? Okay, it's on green. Okay. Thank you all for being here tonight with us. Right. Yeah, it's just flickering. Okay, there we are. Okay, thank you all for joining us tonight. Thank you to Teddy, my former colleague at Puck. I brought Teddy into the room for you all to meet because he's, in my opinion, one of the best reporters on the beat on this administration, and he thought something that many missed for a while, and that was that Silicon Valley was increasingly becoming more and more, you could say, red-pilled. They were disillusioned with the Biden administration. This kind of started a little bit over COVID, but it certainly became more pronounced once the administration came in. They were frustrated with regulations. We can talk more about that. They felt that it didn't match their culture, Silicon Valley culture. And he really paid attention to this because Silicon Valley is such a power center politically. It historically has favored Democrats up until this moment, and they had unlimited wealth, if you think about it. And particularly Elon Musk, someone who at one time called himself a humanitarian. So,
What is fun.
thank you, Teddy. So, this is a very important story, and I think we should maybe start with the origin of it all. Teddy had been following this at Puck. I found all of his stories to be incredibly engaging. Everything felt a little shadowy. All of these, tech millionaires meeting in mansions in Silicon Valley and Los Angeles. Peter Thiel, being one of the major backers of the Republican Party at the time, sort of being the first to show them that it was safe to head into those waters. But, Teddy, when did you really first sense a real shift happening?
Yeah, I would say thank you everyone for having me. Promise I own more than one shirt. Which I wearing the same shirt from my photo years ago, I promise. I think this started during COVID. I think if you were in Silicon Valley even in 2020, it was still really hard to be a Trump supporter. There was a fundraiser that Trump did in the Bay Area for his re-election campaign in 2019 that was not public even to guests who the host of the event was, because they were so concerned about being ostracized and being outed that these guests were showing up for a fundraiser in 2000. Now it's just dead. It's okay. Okay, when it starts blinking. Oh. Hello. What are you doing? Okay, hello. Okay, cool. There was an event in 2019 that Trump, sorry, when someone was hosting for Trump, they were so concerned about it leaking that they would not even tell anybody where the event was. If people were showing up at a fundraiser at a TBD location. So by 2020, when COVID starts rearing and there's kind of this distrust of institutions, distrust of the media, which I think really lots of tech people were feeding off of that anti-media kind of sentiment. That's when this starts, and Joe Biden's elected, and then I think what I noticed was lots of tech leaders could feel that they are, anti-left, anti-democratic, without necessarily being explicitly like pro-Trump, because you don't have to defend Trump anymore. He's no longer president. You can just be Joe Biden sucks and think that, and not have to say, anything about Trump. And you could be pretending that you're pro Ron DeSantis or pro some TBD Republican in the 2024 presidential election. So once Trump's out of office, it's very easy for tech leaders to stop being scared to be conservative. Now it says, okay.
And it seems like at first they were sort of entranced by Ron DeSantis. Is it fair to say that? I mean, the entire establishment thought Ron DeSantis could be the white knight. They really didn't want to go back to the chaos of Trump.
Yeah, I mean, yes. Okay. We'll just share. Is that okay? Sure. Okay. Yeah, I mean, basically what happened was Ron DeSantis was able to ride on this premise that, he's going to have all the Silicon Valley support. And it didn't necessarily matter if it was true in 2021, 2022. Like, he wasn't officially running for president. He was pretending that, he was just running for election. But even during the 2022 cycle, DeSantis was able to take advantage of the fact that there were lots of tech leaders who were just desperate for anybody but Trump. This was a time when there was tons of tech leaders were saying openly, like Elon Musk even was saying openly, that Trump should ride off into the sunset. We should move on. This is kind of the high watermark of DeSantis. I guess it ended up being the case. That was the high watermark for DeSantis in the 2024 presidential race before he even announced he was running. So yes, tech leaders were excited about him. And this is also, we should say, at a time when Biden sort of his popularity is beginning to sag. You don't really find many vocal, or it's harder to find kind of vocal Biden supporters kind of around the time in Silicon Valley. I don't know if he really even had much of a kind of a honeymoon period in tech. Maybe right after Jan 6, or right after Biden was elected, you saw Democratic liberals be excited about, the return to norms blah, blah, blah. But really around that time, up until Trump won the nomination, you did not see kind of a vocal pro-Trump explicit movement from tech leaders. Up until the end, they wanted somebody else. And those on the right originally were trying to make it be Ron DeSantis or Nikki Haley or whomever, and they eventually acceded to the fact that Trump was going to be the nominee. But it's not as if Trump had like vocal support from Silicon Valley during the Republican primary. It was an acquiescence by kind of the tech right around Trump, which only happened in the spring of 2024 once Trump went to the nomination.
Yeah, that was a really interesting period because you're right. I mean, Ron DeSantis raised the most money for a super PAC that's ever been raised, close to $200 million, I believe.
Yeah.
And I'm sure a lot of it came from tech. Musk was sort of infatuated with Ron DeSantis, right?
Yeah. I mean, Musk, as now feels forever ago, but like Musk launched the DeSantis campaign.
X and
Right. Which, that he wasn't doing that for everybody. I mean, Musk also did an event for RFK when RFK was running at first as a Democratic primary challenger to Joe Biden. He did an event with Vivek Ramaswamy, but Musk, it's not as if Musk didn't think to himself, like, should I do an event with a Republican frontrunner? Like he explicitly did not do one. From our reporting, even in 2023, he was actively trying to find ways to support other Republicans who are not Donald Trump. Even Republican, even friends of Musk's in like February or March 2024 were saying that he really didn't want to support Trump. And if he did support Trump, there was a lot of conversation around that time in the Musk social circle about like doing an anti-Biden endorsement in like that Elon Musk would come out and say publicly, like, bear with me here, that like he is explicitly against Joe Biden in a presidential election, in the general election, but would not say that he was pro-Trump, which would like be the most meaningless anti-endorsement ever, because like there were two people running for president at the time. But that Musk was very skittish even until the spring about being explicitly pro-Trump.
Yeah, and then he ultimately hired a bunch of former DeSantis staffers essentially to run the America's Super PAC, which helped get Donald Trump over the line. That was the $250 million that he spent in the battleground states. That ultimately was the largest political donation, I think, in history, right? By one individual.
Was it the largest donation by one individual in history? I don't think I've ever said that, but like I'm trying to think right now.
That's what I've been told. I mean, I can't think of anything bigger. I mean, the Addisons gave him $100 million to Trump.
He was the largest disclosed donor in the 2024 cycle. That's
okay.
It's
the most expensive cycle in history.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I can't think of anything that would be greater. Off the top of my head. You always have to add. You always have to add disclosed on these things because, like, it's possible that someone's donating $300 million to like a nonprofit group that doesn't disclose its donors. Musk was not excited really about supporting Trump at the beginning of the campaign, beginning of 2024 even. He was very, he believed that the country was being overtaken by undocumented immigrants. He believed that crime was a massive problem. He believed that Joe Biden was senile, blah blah blah. But he was thinking all of those things at the same time as not being gung-ho about Trump. And then in like spring of 2024, late spring, like May, he begins mobilizing for this pro-Trump super PAC. Though I even know people who donated to that super PAC, which, is the group that Tara's referencing that gave all this money, who sort of like thought their donation was like, was just like pro, like rule of law, pro, immigration enforcement, who didn't really think of it as like a pro-Trump group. Now, like we don't have to go super into the weeds on kind of how exactly the super PAC started, but essentially, like all of Elon Musk's, he really wanted to make sure that no one knew he was funding this group for as long as possible. So he got a lot of his friends to basically donate money before the group officially disclosed the Musk checks. So these people could donate for whatever reason they wanted to. And some people just donated because like they were basically doing Elon Musk a solid. But the whole point here is like Musk was not excited about Trump in all of 2023, and really until he endorsed him in Butler, which was in July of 2024. He was trying to hide it. He was trying to hide the fact that he was such a pro-Trump figure, or he became a pro-Trump figure, which is obviously like so funny to watch what's happening now, where he's like in every camera shot and is obsessed with, getting credit from Trump and all this stuff. Because if he really was so concerned about like being valued by Trump world, he should have come out for Trump much earlier than he did.
Because they care about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But Trump cares about money.
Honestly, I feel like he could have come out for Trump. I mean, remember, the Republican primary was over on like March
It was
1st.
the safest endorsement.
Yeah, like what was he doing from March 1st to July 15th, or whatever the Butler shooting was, when he was, there began to be reports that Musk was supporting Trump, but he really took his time. And we reported that Musk was telling friends that even if he did support Trump during this period, he really wanted to make sure it was like quiet. So he was like, he's getting credit right now as, the guy to help deliver Trump's election, blah, blah, blah. But like, there was an extensive period of time, 2024, when Elon Musk was publicly very, very nervous about being associated with him.
And so what was the shift for him? What got him up on that stage in Butler?
Yeah, I mean, for people who recall that day, was obviously frantic. The day of Trump, the first Butler rally, the day of the Trump shooting. Elon Musk tweets this endorsement. It was less than an hour after the shooting. And I remember, I was like on my phone. I had, obviously was watching the news because it was public that, there's been this assassination attempt. And like, you see that, and I have Musk Twitter notifications on, sadly. And like, you see this tweet and you're just like, is this like why is he choosing this moment of like when the sun is being blotted out by so many other things in the news? Like, hey, maybe the president of the United States might be the former president of the United States might be about to die. Like, let's take this moment to like go forward with this plan of endorsing Trump, which he was at that point going to endorse Trump. He was spending money on this pro-Trump super PAC. It would have come out publicly that he was a backer of the group.
But he wasn't planning to be on the stage with Trump making an endorsement.
You talk about the second Butler rally.
Yeah,
Oh,
he
the
eventually, the after. the
Oh,
assassination
sorry.
attempt.
You're asking about why did he go on stage the second Butler
Yeah,
rally. I was giving the
exactly.
story of why he endorsed after the first Butler
Sure,
rally.
we
When-
can start
when-
there.
when-
We can get to the
but there
second
are-
one.
So, but yes.
Really intended to be on stage endorsing Trump. He thought a tweet would be fine.
So the first, I think these events, a lot happened during this time period in between those two rallies. I mean, the first rally, Trump is in July. Elon and Trump like don't really have much of a relationship at all at that point. Like, I don't believe they had seen each other. They'd seen each other once in person in March of 2024, when Musk is beginning to become friendly with Trump through this guy Nelson Peltz, who's one of Trump's kind of friends of
Contemporary billionaire.
yeah.
Mar-a-Lago hang.
And Elon Musk is good friends with Nelson Peltz's kid. But like the point there is, at the time that Musk endorses Trump, they do not. This is not like, his homie who he's been friends with for decades. Like, this is somebody who they really barely know each other. But then over those next couple of months, between July, I guess it's only 3 months, July, August, September, October, I think is when the second Butler rally is. They really become, Musk is spending all this money to help Trump, and they're not inseparable because they still don't really know each other, and you can argue they don't even really know each other even really now, frankly. I mean, like it's purely been this this marriage of convenience. But during those periods, the Musk operation is spending all this money to help Trump. Trump was being outraised and outspent by the Biden and the Harris operation for almost the entire campaign. It didn't really matter, obviously. So Musk gets up on stage. This is in I think this is October. It might have been late September. And Musk really begins just this public embrace of Trump in a way that was also startling. His super PAC ends up really embracing Elon as like the founder of the group. Like, for a while, even when Musk was giving all the money to the pro-Trump super PAC, he wasn't really saying it was his group. Like, explicitly, I remember this interview that Musk did with Jordan Peterson, where like he was asked, like, is this a pro-Trump group? And he's like, no, we're just pro, First Amendment, and he's like sort of not really saying the words like
Mm.
I'm supporting Donald Trump for president of the United States. This is my super PAC. Blah blah blah. So he gets up on stage at this Butler rally, and it's basically this coming out party for Musk and Trump. And he's jumping on the stage, as people may recall, and sort of somewhat embarrassing
Black
photos.
MAGA.
Yeah, the black MAGA hat. And he gives this speech, and it's the rest is kind of history.
Right, and then he also sort of helped, which is something that Trump's team and Barron Trump with the whole bro MAGA sphere, he helped to sort of nurture that as well, wouldn't you say?
I mean, to some extent, it's sort of that is Elon Musk's profile even before Trump, right?
Right.
I mean, like he is a huge. This was I haven't seen super recent polling, but I remember polling on this stuff in like 2017, 2018, 2019. There's a huge gender split on Musk's like support. He's beloved by men at the time, and
He
very
has 15 big mamas.
what's that?
He
Yeah,
has
there you go.
15 baby mamas.
Very disliked by female voters at least. And
Women tend to not really like that.
yeah, there you go. So at the time, Musk was certainly, was as a cultish kind of figure for lots of male voters, and Trump obviously did a lot to help, did a lot to kind of nurture that manosphere you're talking about. But to some extent, like that, I feel like that already was associated with Elon, even if Elon didn't do anything.
He actually probably gave Trump a little bit more credit in that world.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. Okay, so here we are. Trump wins election, inauguration, Musk is there. He follows them into the White House in a way that I think most administration officials did not think was actually going to happen. I do not think that they saw Musk as like this,
What did you think was going to happen?
I didn't think he was going to be, Doge would be his project, right? Was what he said. I didn't actually believe that he would take it that seriously, because he has a track record of sort of like losing interest in things. But to be literally at Trump's side at every moment and to be in every single shot, take this Doge initiative so like seriously to the point that he's pissing off all of the cabinet officials, to be there as the president's essentially right-hand man above the chief of staff, you could say. I don't think most people on the campaign expected this.
Yeah, I mean, I remember on like my main contribution on election day was a story that we wrote in the Times that Musk was attending the election night festivities in Mar-a-Lago, which like didn't really feel like a significant scoop at the time. It was just like Musk is going to the election party, but like that actually was the beginning of that period where basically Musk has not left since. Right now, that was the start of like a new phase in the relationship, which was Musk. Then Musk went to Mar-a-Lago for the transition. Sorry, went for the party, and then I mean we didn't know all this at the time, but then he stayed for weeks. Right, exactly. But like at the time, it's just like, oh, like whatever, Elon's going to the party.
He has a cabana at Mar-a-Lago,
Right,
and he bought an apartment in West Palm Beach, and he's literally everywhere next to Trump. I mean, my sources say he's extremely clingy, and Trump doesn't really love that.
So yes, that basically ends. This basically starts this new phase where Musk and Trump don't really know each other, but Musk is then suddenly there.
New Year's night.
Election night.
No, but even on New Year's.
Oh yeah, even on New Year's night.
Sitting next to Trump, he walks into the rooms with Trump, gets applause with Trump. He's there next to Trump in almost every shot.
Yeah, I do not believe he left at all between. I might be misremembering some of the details here, but I don't believe between November and December, like during the presidential transition period, November 5th to January 20th. I do not think he left, or maybe he left very, very briefly, which like raises a lot of interesting questions about like who's running the Musk companies. This has been like a question I've had. I'm not an expert on Tesla or SpaceX or XAI or things like that, but like Elon is still certainly on paper like the CEO of all these companies. Like I mean, he's still leading Tesla like earnings calls, and I've always wondered like where are these calls happening from? Like is he doing these from like the White House, because there's this whole world of you can track Elon's plane, which is like a cottage industry of reporters who sort of do this sort of thing, and like the plane has been like he's not really leaving DC. He's gone a couple of times to California or to Texas in the last 3 or 4 months, but he's basically since November 5th been right next to Trump the whole time. Doge ends up. I don't think like people thought it was a joke. But like it's certain, and I also don't think it's accurate when some people say that like Trump did not run on it. Like he gave a speech talking about he was going to set up a Department of Government Efficiency and Elon Musk was going to be running it. He said that in a speech in September.
But Vivek Ramaswamy was also supposed to be a part of it.
Yeah, and Howard Lutnick was as well. But like it is certainly true that Trump did not emphasize Doge during the campaign. Like it was not an issue he talked about a lot. You know, it was not clear that Musk was going to be doing this in a quasi, or not even quasi, in a full-time capacity, basically. Like I think people thought it would be a much more of an advisory role, like similar to what like Carl Icahn did in the first administration, where he was like, you know, he still had his day job, but like Elon gave some ideas about Doge and tweeted about Doge and whatever. But like the idea that Musk was going to be like
Full throttle.
yeah. I mean, I think that was surprising. Even on election night when we published that Musk was going to the party, we didn't expect what happened. I didn't expect any of this.
Okay, now, like, there was obviously a lot of ambiguity to his role in the White House. Now he is a senior administration official, is that right?
Yeah, that's fair to say. He's the most, in some ways, the most senior administration official, except for Trump. And some people will dispute that, or some people will dispute, you know, that he's not even more senior than JD Vance. But yes, he's a senior administration official. He's technically what's called a special government employee. But
Which means that he can continue working at his existing.
yeah, it's sort of I'll spare people the details here, but so it's sort of a workaround for some of the ethics questions. But yes, he works for the White House. His spokespeople are White House employees. He has a White House email address. He's a White House employee.
And he sleeps in the Eisenhower office building.
There's the thing with we've been careful at times about saying where Musk actually sleeps, because like there's an element of this that is definitely like work porn or like kind of fable, you know, where it's like Musk like acolytes love to tell people, you know, like they're sleeping at the office, and this is a part of like the lore of Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Is like, you know, do I believe he slept at the office sometimes? Sure. Like, do I think Elon Musk is sleeping on the bed in the office every single night? No. But it is true that there are beds that have been installed in the GSA, the General Services Administration building, which I believe certainly is true that a lot of people working for Doge, like the younger people, have slept there a lot. I just don't know whether that's true of Elon specifically. The world's richest person is definitely like showering and, you know, not sleeping.
I don't know, I feel like the richer you get, the weirder you get.
Yeah, I'm saying like I'm just urging people to be like, when you see like the, you know, the meme of like Elon sleeping in like a sleeping bag on the floor, like, I just like make sure that's
Probably
fair.
has a couch you can sleep on as well. Yeah, okay, we can move on from where he sleeps. So do you see this as like a trend that will outlive Trump? Will Musk move on to the next leader in the Republican Party? I mean, will he try to become the next leader in the Republican Party? Is that what he's doing himself?
I don't know. You know, certainly, you know, like a thought that people have had is like, yeah, no, will, you know, I'm very interested in like the Musk JD Vance relationship is interesting to me. You know, Vance obviously is like a front runner for the Republican nomination in 2028. Will Elon Musk care about that? It's so far away. Who knows whether or not Musk will be satisfied with his like experience in politics. You could see, I mean, I could easily paint two pictures for you of how that goes. Like one where Musk is having a great time as, you know, the fan favorite of the Republican base, and he like says, "This is great. Let's keep doing it. Let's give, you know, $350 million to the JD Vance super
I
PAC."
mean, he just gave another $100 million. You were reporting in the Times to Trump.
Instead he's giving right. But you can also see a scenario easily where Musk feels like, you know, he didn't get enough credit. All the mean people in the media and the bureaucracy were stymieing him, and like, you know, he could say he did enough to support, you know, the Doge effort, and he just kind of goes home and, you know, still is a Republican, but does not care that much about Vance or kind of any future Republicans. I can see both those.
He did get Trump to pick Vance, so.
Musk, I think a lot of people got Trump to pick Vance, and there's
Right.
also a lot of revisionist history about kind of how exactly all that happened. But Musk placed calls to encourage Vance, you know, to be the pick. He called Vance, we reported, assassination insurance right after the Butler shooting. Basically that And it's funny because Vance and Musk don't have also do not have a deep relationship. It's not as if they really knew each other that well at all.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing obviously the other tech scions and tycoons following Musk, and it was after him though, obviously, it was at the inauguration.
Yeah.
And a little bit before Mark Zuckerberg going to Mar-a-Lago after Trump won the election, Jeff Bezos, Tim Cook, everybody seems to be, you know, sort of following in Musk's lead, but they're not getting as close to the administration as he is. Maybe they want to be and they can't. I mean, what do you make of all that? Are they just being, opportunists that trying to, get on the good side of a president who's out for revenge, particularly against some of them like Zuckerberg, who he at one time said should be in prison?
Yeah.
Or do they really believe in this? Are they believers in the Trump administration?
I think there's a lot. There's a lot going on with like the red pilling and the kind of the conservative embrace of Trump. There's like a lot. That's a catch-all way of saying like there's a lot of different types of people with a lot of different types of motivations. I do think for public company CEOs, like take Zuckerberg for instance, it's just like pure like defense of your industry, and he felt that Biden was too strict on governing like AI, and Trump will be more permissive, which is true, and like it's just pure like lobbying, right?
If you have the access to Trump will let you in.
Yeah, and I think also a lot of Democrats, a lot of these tech leaders kind of saw a Democrat that was not Barack Obama, and Obama, who was much more tech friendly than Joe Biden ended up being, and they're like, oh crap, this is the alternative to Trump, is like we could just have Biden. That sounds awful, right? So like for them, it's like, okay, now they're comparing. This is what Trump said, like compare me to the other option here, and tech leaders said, some public company CEOs said, I'll take Trump. There's also obviously a lot of PTSD from 2016 into 2020, where Trump made a lot of these tech CEOs' jobs awful, right? They were fighting with him all the time. So I think that's true. I also think that for some tech leaders, there is a genuine like right-wing drift that like is reflected in how some voters feel, right? I do think in addition to Mark Zuckerberg being like a lobbyist for Facebook or for Meta, he also genuinely is more conservative than he was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
We've reported that he thinks that a lot of the stuff he funded on DEI and through his philanthropy were mistakes. He feels that like the left that he kind of grew up with under the Obama era was wrong, and these are like genuine beliefs that he has that are also politically convenient because now Trump is the president. So I think all these things are true. I think also that some people are absolutely just like using Trump to get whatever they want, and
right.
like their politics are sort of irrelevant. They just want to like be in the room, and I think that's true for a lot of the Musk friends. Like, do they really care about Trump, or is it just like drunk on power? Like, there's definitely an element of that too.
Right. Yeah, I just reported in my new newsletter, the Red Letter, that
Yeah.
Phil Chang, who is Mark Zuckerberg's wife, was at a conservative conference, the American Enterprise Institute, which is a secret off-the-record conference. So she's clearly gone a little further to the right as well.
Yeah. I mean, Priscilla, we reported this also is becoming more is concerned about these sort of issues, and she joins Mark in that, and she's by his side as he's going to MMA rallies and kind of doing all this stuff too. So yes, the fact that she was at the AEI summit, I thought was fitting this trend. No one's making her go to that, right? I mean,
Yeah.
like,
and it's pretty normy though.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to let you guys ask some questions of Teddy. He's an expert.
Sure.
Yeah, let's get
Wait,
you
wait
a
for mics.
microphone.
So like essentially I feel like there's sort of been a shift from like these big like MNCs from talking about like social responsibility and constantly like being compliant with these DEI and like pink washing and these constant, it's Pride Month, we're gonna do this, it's Black History Month, we're gonna advocate for this, and as that sort of been institutionally like stopped, they've also stopped, and I feel like one of the biggest biggest ways to explain that sort of is they're showing like their true colors because it's like they don't really need to and they might as well just go with like the best way to make money. Would you say that that's also how the tech billionaires are behaving too? Like, they're finally under a regime where they don't need to be like advocating for all these like social responsibilities. And now they're sort of going through like this meeting which is by aligning themselves with Trump.
Yeah, I think a lot of you definitely hear this from lots of CEOs, not just like tech billionaire, like famous people, but just like, leaders of small or medium-sized startups, like this feeling from like 2016 to 2021, they felt like they had to weigh in on 1,000 issues. And like, I think a lot of them felt pressure from their employees, frankly. And yes, from the media also, and from like, the culture broadly, but like a lot of business leaders in Silicon Valley were like scared of their employees. And they to some extent, they're doing the same thing they're doing now. Sometimes they're doing the same thing they're doing now that they were doing then, which is just sort of like kind of following the path of least resistance, which is like, our employees want us to put out, a statement about why we disagree with, Trump's immigration ban on Muslim countries, or we want to get them to stop, our employees say that we have to stand up for the Paris Climate Accords, like, okay, we're doing it. And now, like, it's easy for them to just be more pro-Trump because, like, they're just following. There's not like there's not actually been some shift in their political thinking. They're just as like uncourageous then as they were now, which is just kind of going with the flow.
Yeah, and they also fear the administration, I'm sure.
Yeah.
They're just following the leaders in their industry and they fear the administration. Yeah.
How much influence do you think these right-wing thinkers, like the philosophers, the Silicon Valley philosophers like Curtis Yarvin and his belief in the unitary executive and let's get comfortable with dictator, how much do you think they influence the people working there, the billionaires?
It depends. Like Yarvin is somebody who like, has been cultivated over the years by Peter Thiel, but like I don't think Elon Musk is reading Curtis Yarvin. Like JD Vance is definitely like part of this, like it's a more intellectual part of kind of the tech right. I'm always amazed, like one of the subplots of the first couple ones that I find funny is like JD Vance's willingness to actually engage totally like beneath him, like online fights over I tweeted about Yarvin at some point in the last couple of months. I forget exactly what it was about, but like he's always just like weighing in on like random like right-wing intellectual debates about things that like you think the vice president of the United States does not have time to deal with. So yeah, but like I don't think Trump knows who Curtis Yarvin is. But surely, like every movement, like there's kind of more intellectual underpinnings and there's less intellectual underpinnings, and like like yes, Thiel is somebody who like loves the world of ideas, and Elon Musk is not somebody who is steeped in that stuff.
When people say that we have a techno oligarchy right now, what do you say to that? What do you think about that phrase?
Yeah, I don't use that word. Yeah, like it or not,
I mean, you
Donald
can
Trump was,
see it right in the New York Times.
yeah, Donald Trump was democratically elected, and he can, name who he wants to his cabinet. If he wants to name Elon Musk a special government employee, like to do, like to be in charge of at least as of now, like legally set up structure that has not been overturned by a court or those Doge, like is that like I understand like I think when people talk about oligarchy, like I guess the more convincing arguments I find are not like the narrow arguments about like why is Elon Musk in charge of the government, but kind of a broader like why is this system so captive to like oligarchic like influence, right? And like sure, that's true. That was true before too. To some extent, I find one of the maybe charming lessons of this whole thing is like why didn't this happen earlier? Citizens United was in 2010, Billionaires have existed since 2010. Like no one really thought about spending more money and being more involved, and why didn't like a lot? There's been a lot of attention paid on like Eric Schmidt during the Obama era, who was the former Google CEO, who was very involved with the Obama administration, especially in the second term. But like, why didn't he go even further? Like, if you believe you have all this money and you want the world to reflect your values, like, isn't Elon Musk just doing a better job at like capturing, you know, society than like Eric Schmidt could have done? Like, these people could have spent more money. I mean, I'm joking,
Don't test
but
them.
I'm joking, but like, my point is, I don't think the system's any more. In some ways, it is more oligarchical because, like, Musk bought X, for instance, right? And like,
And you can buy TikTok, which you won't though.
sure, whatever. Like, but like, like, I just feel like there were more opportunities for wealthy people. There are as many opportunities for wealthy people to turn their money into power now as there were 10 years ago. And people just didn't take them up.
Yeah, but like Musk has the ability to dismantle various, agencies and programs and grants that go to his competitors, like going after NASA, for example.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, I'm not arguing that like Musk is just like any other, American who doesn't have, who's, voting for Trump and whatever. I mean, he obviously has a lot of influence in society, but like, I guess I do not believe that we are in an oligarchy yet. It's still a democratic system that Trump won.
Okay, over there. Jen?
I'm so proud of you, Terry. You're one of my former students. So it's wonderful to see you.
Thanks for coming.
Doing a great job. So here's where we are today. Where are we going to be in a year? Because you're talking about, Donald Trump, who's all about ego. I lived in New York City many, many years ago before you were born. It's always with the ego, the inflated ego, not getting along with people. We've seen it in the first administration. You're talking about really Elon Musk has really taken over a lot of power. Terry just said it, he's everywhere. And I can even see the faces that Donald Trump is making sometimes in the Oval Office when Elon Musk is there. So this is where we are now, but they're both very volatile. Where do you think we're going to be in a year? Because I think something's going to just kind of explode at some point where there's just, I'm also hearing Elon Musk is not getting along with anybody in the administration. You mentioned it, Tara, he's being disrespectful to Susie.
Yeah.
It's a lot of other people, and they've obviously made it known to the president. So long story short, where we are today, where do you think we're going to be in about a year?
I'll start and then I'll let Teddy finish that, because I know Teddy, I think we sort of agree on, we talked about this before, actually. I think we both sort of agree that as long as Elon Musk is giving Donald Trump money, he is probably I think he's probably fine. And I think because Elon Musk has more money than Donald Trump, he admires them for that. He did, yes, he got in a fight with the cabinet, but he wrote $100 million check, or he's planning to, as Teddy reported. That has a lot more weight than a bunch of disgruntled staffers ultimately. And like Trump has reined him in, told him to use what is it? He said to use a
scalpel,
a scalpel,
yeah,
not a sledgehammer.
Yeah.
Right, that's his idea of reining Elon Musk in. After he had these brush ups, he's very dismissive. He doesn't treat people well, but ultimately he has unlimited funds, and that is extremely useful for a president who really is in a lame duck, or at least soon to be in a lame duck period. And he needs to have that money in his political arm, especially if he wants to pass, some of the key legislation like the tax cuts. He needs to be able to intimidate 2 to 3 person majority into voting along party lines on this. In the last tax cut package that they did in 2017, they had, I think, about 16 Republicans vote against it. And so they can't lose 2 to 3 people. The only way to keep them in line, they've already lost Thomas Massey in Kentucky, is to threaten them with primary challengers and with the political arm that he has, and who is, the person who can fund those operations is Elon Musk, who's already openly threatening them on X. He has like an incredibly powerful platform to destroy these people that try to, resist any of Trump's, policies or his initiatives. So yeah, I think he needs Musk, and I think he knows that. And Trump probably just sees him as one of his best clients. And he needs to sort of keep him around. Now, after the midterms, is Musk gonna be around as much? I'm not sure. Will Musk even wanna be around? I just think in this period of time, until they pass tax reform and they get through the midterms, I think Musk is gonna be around.
Yeah, I don't think it, I think what I disagree on is I don't think it's that, I don't think the money matters that much for Trump at this point. I think, I mean, I do think that like the value of Musk is primarily the megaphone at this point. It's the media profile. It's that Musk has this, massive following of 220 million people. Like, he's very intertwined with kind of, the manosphere we talked about earlier, and sort of like the right wing echo chamber, and like Musk is like, I think his value to Trump is primarily as politically as an influencer. Also, like Musk is doing stuff that Trump like doesn't care about really. Like I feel like a lot of the stuff that Musk is doing is like dirty work of like fixing or trying to fix, or his view, fixing like the FAA, or this is not, Musk is not trying to be like Secretary of State or something like that, or Secretary of Defense. That he was not. I was kind of interested to see like it was interesting to me that Musk was not in that Signal chat. That was like
That's a good point.
but like, I think the most dangerous thing I think that Elon Musk is doing now is on Social Security, which is like a huge, that is something Trump cares about. But I feel like if Musk just sticks to like the most boring stuff, like the GSA and the Office of Personal Management and the stuff that like Trump doesn't know anything about or is not a priority for him, like that's the safest terrain for him, because then he offers Trump a lot of value, like as a policy matter, and he also maintains this kind of political profile where he can use Musk to yell at people he doesn't like.
It's also cover.
Yeah,
Because
right.
Elon Musk's, popularity is diving. Trump is obviously starting to dip a little bit as he comes out of the honeymoon stage, but blame Elon Musk when you're not happy with the fact that your parks are, your park bathrooms are dirty or whatever it is. Like you can blame Elon Musk. Oh, we went too far. We got to rein Elon back in. I think when it starts to wear off on Trump, then they'll have to think about it. Yeah. Okay. Does anyone else have any questions? Yeah. Right there. Yeah. Yeah. You in the blue.
I was just wondering if you had any insight into like Doge and people involved with like their competency or like lack thereof, with the mistakes made, like the attack on DEI programs and mass firings.
There's a lot of people involved with Doge. I think there's a lot of different levels of competency. It's a cop-out answer, but like I feel like there's like 80 to 100 people involved at this point. And some of those people are like, a ton of attention has been paid to like the kids, right? Like these like, kind of henchmen who are like 25, who are like showing up with their black backpacks and demanding access. And like, it's obviously like great cinema, and like it's entertaining. And I mean, to be good, people have a tremendous amount of power and have zero experience. But like there's a lot of other people who are involved in Doge who are just like, conservative lawyers who, would have staffed to Ron DeSantis administration or whatever. Then there's kind of a third group of like tech executives who are to some extent have a lot of competency in something else, right? And may have built like Joe Gebbia, who's one of the founders of Airbnb, is like very involved with Doge, and he helped build a massively successful public company, and sure he knows a thing or two about some things, but like then you have the question of like, does he know anything about this specific thing? But a lot of the core premise of why Doge, if you talk to their defenders, why they started this thing is basically to build a talent bench of kind of patriotic minded business people, right, who are going to come in and solve things. So I think some of them are competent. I don't like share like if you read the coverage generally, or at least read like some coverage of it, you would get the impression that like the only people who work at Doge are the kids, and that's like 20% of the stuff.
Yeah.
I have a question on some of these emerging, like tech, that's kind of like, how is this gonna affect AI? How is this gonna affect some of these things that are like newer systemly? You know, is that gonna be politicized in a way? I just have questions about some of the advances that's happening in technology at this time, how they could be influenced with what we're seeing politically. With the administration.
I don't totally understand. Can you give me a repeat?
It's like that there's been conversations before the election about what influence will AI have, like in the future, whether it's workforce, whether it's, do you think this is exacerbating that? Is this creating an environment that helps, you know, with this, or that's kind of what I'm wondering.
Musk's involvement?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and the influence it's having.
Oh,
on the
sure.
administration.
I mean, you could see that from two different sides. I mean, on the one hand, like, as I was just saying, you suddenly have all these people who know a lot about AI who are, or, you know, claim to know a lot about AI who are involved in the federal government, like, you know, and the Musk team explicitly wants to use AI to like automate, in their view, like lots of jobs in the federal government, which is like, you know, they're maybe this is Pollyannish, but like their view is like, why do we need 2 million federal government employees? Let's just, you know, use an algorithm and get rid of half of them. Maybe that's true. I mean, the other side of that argument is like, especially given the number of kind of these people who are maintaining their private sector jobs, is like, is this just corporate capture by like the AI industry over federal government, right? Like, you know, if you could make the same argument about crypto, where you have like lots of people who have cryptocurrency investments who are suddenly in charge of crypto policy. Like, is that good or is that bad? Like, well, you can argue they know a lot about crypto, and they're also in charge of crypto. So great.
Anyone else? Yeah, back there?
Does the fact that these billionaires have stepped down so visibly, is personified by Musk, made them more likely a target for the sorts of things that Sanders and AOC are saying about the oligarchs and the billionaires? Has Musk become a much story?
I mean, the Democrats clearly see Elon Musk as a rich target. I mean, it sounds like they're talking about Elon Musk, but more than they're talking about Donald Trump. And I think he probably likes that a little bit, but maybe also, you know, I'm sure he doesn't like the impression that Elon Musk is the president.
Yeah, I mean, like right now, Bernie Sanders is doing like an anti-oligarchy like tour of the country, and is talking about Musk all the time. Like obviously he was talking about these topics before, but sure, I mean, it is, you know, talking about wealth inequality or the political power of billionaires. Like you now have, as you said, like a personified target. There's an election 2 weeks in Wisconsin, or 10 days in Wisconsin, where like for a Supreme Court seat in the state that has been like all about Elon Musk, and like Democrats are running like an anti-Musk playbook in that state.
Elon Musk is offering $100 per person
to
sign up for registration information, for voter registration information. And I mean, it has it's a strange race, like from the outset, but it has a lot of power because there's redistricting, obviously.
A lot of board reporters too who are
that's true.
eager to write about an election that's happening.
Yeah, it's our first election kind of stress test to the power of Trump in a battleground state that he won.
Yeah.
So thank you for the background. That's basically what it is right now. Now, all these tech billionaires, they do have all the access to our data more than before, because there is no control to stop them, to use our social security numbers, to use our IRS filings. What is the risk? And also, is that okay to let them do it?
Go ahead.
I don't know what they're doing. I mean, I don't think it's a good idea. I mean, we know that the government has our social security numbers. You know, the IRS is holding on to our information. Are there a bunch of Doge heads looking at my information right now? I don't know. I hope not. At the same time, like, people have been targeted by the IRS for political reasons in the past. It's just a matter of who's doing it.
I mean, a lot of it, to make the Musk side of the argument there. I mean, a lot of they believe that like all the questions about like access have been overblown, and that it's like, you know, there was kind of like a couple of weeks of like Mad Libs and news coverage where it's like Musk person X has gained access to thing Y, and it's just like their argument is like, well, we just need information about what we're looking at here so we can find cuts that they're, but sure, I mean, there's a ton of fear that the Musk team, which is all new to federal government, and some of these people still have their business interests that are very much live, live situations.
A little drunk on power from the way they're acting.
Yeah, I mean, the point there is like, are these employees going to use this data in some nefarious way or not? The Musk people would just say that they're getting access to information so they can make decisions about cuts.
Oh, I think this has to be the last question, but yeah.
I've heard it argued several times that Trump has been doing these tariffs with the intention of trying to turn the United States into an oligarchy. Now, whether or not you agree with that notion, like, is he doing it to isolate the United States because he hates these other countries, or is he doing it to autocratize us? I don't know. But how do you think that these tech billionaires are kind of responding to his insistence on trying to not really mobilize American industry, but just really cut the United States off from a lot of the rest of the world?
Well, I think the business world is not happy on whole with the tariffs. Trump's an older man who has long believed in tariffs. It's like something he's always been obsessed with. He thinks it's a way to raise money for the country. He really thinks it will bring, jobs back from offshore, unclear. That will actually happen during his time. You must have some thoughts on this, Teddy. I mean, it's just based on my reporting, but he's just been like obsessed with tariffs. He thinks that everyone said, I think it's a beautiful word. He's been saying that since like the 70s,
Yeah, I mean, the Trump stuff better than I do, but I mean, obviously a lot of business leaders were willing to put aside whatever Trump thought about tariffs for the entire campaign because they sort of thought it was like, oh, it's just a bargaining chip, and maybe it is, but stock market does not think that it was a bargain, or is learning that it was not just a bargaining chip, right? Because as he started to put these tariffs into place.
Yeah, a friend of mine just sent me, she sells defense, I guess you could call weapons abroad, and it has to import them, and it's just paying exorbitant tariffs and sending some of the bills. I was like, whoa. I mean, obviously that's not a day-to-day thing, but I think in general, like even our food prices will feel it eventually. It comes down to the consumer. But this all could just be like a negotiating tactic. Who knows if he actually goes through with it, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, that's what Scott Bessent said, that it was just a negotiating tactic. But yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you all so much for joining us for this much needed discussion. Here at Sign, we always say convene, communicate, and collaborate, and that goes beyond this room. So please keep these important conversations going with your colleagues and the communities. If you enjoyed this event, Tara will be back with a career conversation on April 7th at 5 p.m. in MGC 306. And if you want even more Signing Your Life, our next seminar is March 31st at 4 p.m. with Nadia Murad in MGC 305. For more information on these events, please stop by and grab a postcard at the table outside. Thank you all so much for joining us, and let's give one more thank you to Tara Palmeri.
She's the one that comes with jealous of
Great.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
What year did you graduate?
What?
What year did you graduate from?
Oh, wait. Oh, no.
I want to ask this
I graduated
question
early.
out loud.
Sure.
But there's something sociopathological about these tech billionaires, leaving aside Tim Cook.
Yeah. Oh, what do you mean? What do you mean by that?
Is there something
Oh, is-
pathological about